At the dawn of the MMA, when at tournaments in ultimate fighting, jiu-jitsu fighters shared the podium with wrestlers and strikers played the role of cannon fodder, there were three heroes in the world who challenged the system and went against wrestling domination. Igor Vovchanchin was fierce in Russia and Japan. At UFC, Maurice Smith defended the honor of strikers, who showed how to beat wrestlers, completely outplaying the dominant champion Mark Coleman. Well, on the fields of Brazil, this hero was Jose Landi-Jons, nicknamed Pele, who at one time was considered the best and toughest welterweight in the world. And this is his brightest and most significant fight in his career that we will recall today. Pele was one of the first of the Shooting Box Academy to make the name for himself in Vale Tudo tournaments, and made a huge impact on fighters such as Vanderlei Silva, Anderson Silva and the Hoover brothers. It is believed that it was he who first began to effectively use the tie clinch in fights without rules, and his elbows and knees bumped more than one skull and body of his rivals. At the same time, having a black belt in jiu-jitsu, Pele preferred to fight in a stance position, and was always aimed to knockout. By the way, speaking of Muay Thai, he twice beat Spider Silva, with whom they trained together and then clashed. Jons began his career back in 1993. It was the Shooting Box Academy confrontation against the Capoeira fighters. And so as not to injure your eyes, let's go straight to the finale. Landi-Jons won TKO and then didn't officially compete for 3 years. In 1996, Pele returned to the game, taking part in the Brazilian tournament of 8 fighters, and at the first stage he got the fighter of the Luta Livre school, Paulo Muniz. The battle has just begun, but things are already very bad for Paulo, and his body is about to burst at the seams, as Pele, without a bit of mercy, destroys him from the tie clinch. The match went to the ground a couple of times where Paulo had a chance of winning, but every time Jons was getting up on his feet and continued to beat up the opponent from the tie clinch, without hesitating to beat him even with his head.
Oh, Pele has him out of the ring. Oh, a right hand. He strikes, walked through a right hand, a flying knee, and another, knees in the stomach.
Paulo got the second chance on the well, but the heel twist didn't work out, and instead of a prize, he received a pair of wonderful 12-6 elbows. At the 8th minute, Paulo remembered that he hadn't turned off the iron at home and decided to slip away unnoticed, but the referee noticed his sneaky maneuver and awarded the victory to Landi-Jons, who advanced to the second stage of the tournament. In the semi-finals, Pele fought Erico Correa, who represented the semi-deadly and forbidden style all over the world of Sepalkido. Jons was afraid to chop to death with the mysterious master in a standing position, and having transferred him to the ground, as in training, choked him from the back without much resistance, becoming the finalist of this tournament. In the final battle, Pele fought another no-name Marcelo Vieira, who represented the jiu-jitsu school, and when seeing the jitsus, Landi had a heartburn and bouts of stand-up comedy.
And Pele comes up with a great knee.
Very nice knee to the face.
KO. That's got, no.
Marcelo turned out to have a truly steel cabin, powerful knees, pure high kick, and he still stands and doesn't fall. Just a guy who cannot be destroyed. But unfortunately, the second wave of knees nevertheless broke the iron jitsu and he was stopped, and Jose Landi-Jons won the tournament by simply skating over 3 opponents. On November 1st, 1996, at the 6th Vale Tudo tournament, Pele returned to business, and that evening he faced one of the most important rivals of his career. Jiu-jitsu star Jorge Patino, nicknamed Macaco, was considered the successor of Hicks and Gracie. Jorge had a black belt and had already won 5 one-day tournaments, and lost number 6 only in the final. So his record at that time of the tournament was 16-1, and he looked like the favorite. It was a tournament of 8 fighters, and they could only meet in the finale. The first to enter the ring is Jorge and his rival Anderson Lima. It is good that not Silva. Start of the fight, and the fighters show the audience their cool stances, and then Jorge makes some incredible slam.
De São Paulo de Lilás. Olha o macaco. A galera vai
It was a really tough finish from Jorge Patino. He fixed Lima's hand and threw a couple of kilotons of explosives into opponent's head, and then a control one, after which Anderson didn't even get into Wikipedia, since this fight was his first and last in his career. Jorge goes on, and now it is Pele's turn, so the team of doctors has tightened up. His rival is bad boy Adriano Vardelli, representative of the luta libre style. And here is the greeting from Pele in the form of the strongest high kick through the air, and then another one, after which the fight goes to the ground.
Olha o Pelé.
This is how Pele works cruelly with elbows to the back of the head and then chokes Adriano from the back and passes the move to Jorge Patino. Jorge's rival Erico Correa, about whom nothing is also known, except that he represents some kind of secret Chinese style of sipalca dough.
Esquerda aí no macaco, não pegou com muita potência. Agora marcou também. Opa!
Acabou.
Uma cabeçada já torteou.
It was just an incredibly brutal finish from Jorge. Brazilians in the 90s, of course at these Vale Tudo tournaments, knew how to surprise. By the way, in Wikipedia they wrote that the victory was armbar. Apparently it was forbidden to record a knockout with a complete destruction. Well then, there was a slight inconsistency, since somehow it turned out that Pele didn't fight in the semi-finals, and it simply didn't exist. Instead of that, our anticipated finale took place right away. I didn't understand the reasons for this course of events, so first I need to learn Portuguese. In the final, a real classic of Muay Thai against Jiu-Jitsu was waiting for us. Pele Jones versus Patino. And our heroes began to entertain the audience even before the start of the fight, by arranging a battle, and this round for Patino.
Esse espetáculo. Isso é espetáculo. Olha aí. Ataque justificando o apelido. Mariano autoriza o início do combate.
A furious start from Jorge, who takes Pele to the ground and handles with punches. But Jones throws off his opponent and instantly falls into the armbar from the master of Jiu-Jitsu. Pele waits for Macaco to get to his feet and starts shooting to kill, but Patino leaves the shelves and throws the opponent out of the ring.
Reciclando com as outras modalidades.
Again transferred to the ground from Patino, who outplays Pele during the fight, preventing him from boosting in a standing position. Jorge takes the mount and treats Pele with blows until the gong sounds for a break, and the fighters are given a little breath after such a sharp thriller. The fight resumes and Jorge again tries to pull Pele down, but Landi-Jons quickly gets to his feet and works in soccer style. Jones allows Patino to get back on his feet, and they are standing in the center of the ring, looking into each other's eyes. They simply arrange an epic stare down, until the referee calls on to continue the fight. After the pause, Jorge falls under a hurricane of blows. Pele smelt blood and went to finish off the wounded victim. Pele sensed the real courage and during the fight began to mock Jorge by imitating sexual intercourse. Jorge Patino was squeezed into a corner and smashed until the referee came to rescue and stop this beating. This cool duel lasted over 14 minutes and Jose Landi-Jons managed to reverse its move and make a bright comeback. So the first part of the confrontation remained for Pele, but this wasn't all over. Only 4 months passed and our heroes met again in the World Vale Tudo Championship, and Jorge Patino has an excellent opportunity to get revenge on his offender. A calm start and then a takedown from Patino, who sits in the mount and lands a huge headbutt in the face of Pele. This all is the spirit of Vale Tudo. But we have already seen all this in the first fight and we know that Landi-Jons cannot be broken with such things.
Pele wants to deal with a nice knee. A beautiful flip over, and back to their feet they go.
Patino tries to rip off Pele's shorts, thereby winning the fight with a secret submission, and then decides to slip away like heroes of the Men in Black movie.
Woo! Flushed. Yeah, man, back when you was an agent, you used to love getting flushed.
Flipped out of the ring again.
Almost took a
Push
trip
him
out.
away.
Oh!
Papa could be in trouble. A left and a right by Pele. Pele with a beautiful right hand. Now he'll go for the up.
The fight resumes and Patino again tries to make a takedown and then once again is flushed away with his partner. After the second flush, the doctor approached Jorge and having examined, the fight was stopped due to injury. So in the second battle of our heroes, Jose Landi-Jons won the victory again and closed this fundamental confrontation, and in the future the ways of our heroes no longer crossed. Jorge went to UFC where he lost to Pat Miletich in the championship fight, while Landi-Jons stayed to fight in Brazil. Now we go to the knockout tournament IBC 5 in 1998, where at the first stage Pele hacked to death with Gerald Taylor, for whom this fight was the first and only in his career. But despite his little experience, he drank a lot of blood of Jones, who couldn't knock out the newcomer for 13 minutes. In the semi-finals, Pele eliminated the Zero for Jorge Pereira, who had 8 wins and no losses before this fight, but after an 8-minute battle and a strong cut, the record was spoiled and Pele went to the final of the tournament. In the final fight, he was unexpectedly awaited by another striker, kickboxer Milton Bahia, who also had already eliminated 2 bodies and went into battle with a swollen eye as he missed a couple of strikes. The fight began with an unsuccessful guillotine from Milton, and when the fight turned to canvas, he was simply merciless and warned Pele with amplitude blows to the head. At some point the fight could get out of control as Pele didn't behave beautifully and gave the opponent a slap on the face after the referee had already stopped the fight. Milton's eye, which was already hit, swelled even more, and after examining, the fight was stopped and Pele became the champion of the tournament. This is how Landi-Jons won the next tournament of 8 and soon lost to Chuck Liddell in a half-hour war, and this defeat was the 3rd in his career. In January 2000, Landi-Jons took part in the Extreme Fighting Tournament. He fought the first UFC welterweight champion, Croatian sensation Pat Miletich, who is a member of the UFC Hall of Fame and the founder of his own hand-to-hand combat system, which has been taught in the US Army for 15 years.
Of the lightweight titans.
In this fight, perhaps the best fighters of that time and their weight came together, but unfortunately they didn't quite live up to the high expectations of the fans. The fight took place at a rather low pace. The fighters spent almost all the time in a wrestling clinch near the net, exchanging infrequent punches.
Pele's having his way with a knee and a nice.
There was also an episode that revived the audience quite well, when Jones connected his favorite stomps to the case, and as for me, it was the brightest moment in this battle. It happened that Pat couldn't continue to fight and didn't go for the second round, as in one of the episodes he was injured. So in this Stars battle, Landi-Jons prevailed and became the champion of Extreme Fighting Super Fights. Having brilliantly finished off Wilder dos Anjos, Pele went to Kuwait for another tournament of 8, Shotokan Jitsu, to which, in addition to him, such stars of the time as Carlos Newton, Matt Hughes and Dave Manet arrived. At the first stage, he got the most eminent fighter from this company, Matt Hughes, who at that time went on a record of 22 wins and 2 losses, while before the fight with Lundy, his impressive win streak of 18 fights was interrupted. Matt, at the very beginning of the fight, tried to make a takedown, but after a good defense from Lundy, he was effectively thrown by a grab and at the same time ended up on top. Knee from Jones and Matty stopped. This is how Pele finished the top fighters before it became the mainstream. In the semi-finals, Landy unexpectedly lost to the dark horse of the tournament, the Dagestani fighter Karimullah Bakalayev, who was beating the Brazilian on the ground throughout the round until John McCarthy intervened and stopped the fight. However, stoppage for that time is somehow too early, but there is nothing you can do about it, and that's already a history. Pele dropped out of the tournament and Karimullah made it to the final and lost to Dave Manet. After this defeat, Pele lost 4 more times in a row, including Carlos Newton and Renato Sobral, and was also finished by the famous fighter raider Lee Murray, who, if anyone doesn't know, committed one of the biggest bank robberies in history, having stolen $92 million, and I also plan to make a review on him. Landi-Jons' career has been a series of victories and defeats. He beat Alexander Slemenko twice, and both times by decision. He flew into heavy knockouts, but returned to duty again, broke his leg in the famous and sad traditions of the Spider, and fought in the minor leagues until the very end of his career, and only in 2015 finally hung up the gloves on the nail. In total, he has 29 wins and 16 losses, and at one time he was considered the best in the world in his weight, and for this he didn't even need to fight in the UFC. Well, my friends, this is all I got for today. These were the brightest victories and fights performed by Jose Landi-Jons. And if you liked my video, help it to promote with likes, and of course subscribe to the channel in anticipation of the next episodes.